Let me tell you something that might sting a little. You can be beautiful, smart, successful, and even emotionally ready for a relationship, and still be giving off the exact energy that pushes people away. Not because you're unworthy, not because you're not trying, but because the energy you're projecting silently tells others, don't come close. We all carry an emotional temperature, an invisible field that surrounds us. And whether we like it or not, people can feel it before we even say a word. This energy doesn't lie. It speaks louder than our intentions. And for so many single women, that energy says, I'm not open, even when their heart is begging for connection. So what's happening here? Why are amazing women finding themselves alone while longing for something deeper? The answer often hides in the space between what we think we're showing and what the world actually feels when they meet us. Let's talk about independence, because yes, it's powerful. It's magnetic. And let's be honest, many women have had no choice but to become fiercely independent. They've had to take care of themselves. They've built their own lives, paid their own bills, healed their own wounds. That's strength. And it's beautiful. But independence doesn't have to come with armor. Sometimes the strength that protects us also becomes the wall that isolates us. The message becomes, I've got this. But the subtext becomes, there's no room for you here. The truth is, being open isn't about needing someone. It's about allowing someone, letting them contribute, letting them feel that they matter, letting them see the softer, more human parts of you. But many women fear this. They fear being seen as weak. They fear being disappointed again. So instead, they show up controlled, guarded, impeccably composed. And the energy becomes less about let's connect and more about prove you're worth my time. The problem is, real connection doesn't happen in control. It happens in the messy, unfiltered, vulnerable places. It happens when we're not trying to be perfect. It happens when we say, here I am, flaws and all, because that is the space where intimacy grows. Men, the good ones, the emotionally available ones, they're not looking for perfection. They're not trying to fight through your defenses. They're looking for a woman who lets them in. Not all at once, not recklessly, but intentionally, warmly, honestly. Now here's the kicker. This doesn't mean you have to shrink yourself. It doesn't mean you stop being ambitious, capable, or independent. It means you bring both, your fire and your softness, your strength and your humanity, your boundaries and your warmth. Because the energy that truly draws the right person in is the energy that says, I'm whole on my own, but I'm open to growing with someone. I don't need saving, but I value connection. I'm not desperate, but I'm available. So ask yourself, what's the energy I'm walking into the room with? Does it say I'm ready to connect? Or does it say I'm too busy, too guarded, too skeptical? Your energy speaks before your words ever do. You can't fake openness. You can't mask disconnection. And you can't build love if you're emotionally behind a wall. But the beauty is this. Once you become aware of the energy you're giving off, you can change it. You can soften your presence. You can lead with curiosity instead of critique. You can ask, what am I here to give? Instead of, what am I going to get? That shift, small, subtle, powerful, changes everything. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't about how you look. It's about how someone feels in your presence. Do they feel seen? Do they feel safe? Do they feel like there's room for them? If the answer is yes, then you're not just giving off the right energy, you're creating the space where love can actually land. Most women don't even realize the kind of energy they're giving off when they walk into a room, go on a date, or simply exist in the world of modern dating. They might be putting effort into their appearance, engaging in self-improvement, even trying to stay open to love. And yet, something subtle but powerful repels the kind of connection they deeply crave. It's not about being unkind, rude, or overtly closed off. In fact, many of them would describe themselves as warm and ready for something real. But despite their efforts, they keep experiencing the same pattern. They get approached by the wrong people, or the right ones seem to disappear quickly. And often, this disconnect is happening on a level they're not even aware of. An energy level. The truth is, we all broadcast emotional signals. It's not in our words, it's in our body language, our eye contact, our tone, the way we sit, the way we listen, the way we respond. It's in the way we walk into a room and either open or shut the invisible door to connection. You could be smiling, nodding, being polite, and still giving off an energy that says, "Don't get too close, I'm not available. You're going to have to prove yourself to me." And the people who are most sensitive to these signals, the emotionally intelligent, self-aware, emotionally available people, are the ones who pick up on that the fastest. So ironically, the exact people a woman wants to attract might be the ones most likely to walk away because they feel something's off, even if they can't explain what it is. This energy doesn't come from a place of malice. It often comes from experience, from being hurt, from having to protect yourself, from learning that being too open led to disappointment, rejection, or betrayal. So the brain adjusts, the body responds, a quiet guard goes up. But the issue is that this protective energy doesn't just keep the wrong people out, it keeps everyone out. It creates a vibe that says, "I'm not really here to connect." Even if the heart is quietly longing for something real. There's also another layer, expectation. Many women feel like they've done the work. They've invested in themselves. They know what they want. And that sense of clarity can turn subtly into pressure, not just on themselves, but on whoever is standing in front of them. Instead of curiosity and openness, there's a sense of evaluation. The conversation feels more like a test than a moment of discovery. And again, the energy speaks louder than any words. The other person senses it and may think, "She's already decided who I need to be, and I don't know if I can live up to that." Or worse, "I feel like I'm being judged before I've even had a chance to show up." The most interesting part of all this is that the woman might not feel guarded or closed off at all. She might describe herself as open, friendly, ready for love. But what she feels inside and what she projects externally aren't always aligned. Sometimes we think we're putting out one thing, but our nervous system, our body, our face, they tell a different story. A person can say, "I want to meet someone great," while their body is stiff, their arms are crossed, their eye contact is limited, and their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. It's not about being fake or trying to overperform. It's about becoming aware of the subtle disconnect between intention and energy. When this happens repeatedly, it leads to frustration. The woman thinks, "Why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable people?" Or, "Why do men ghost me when things seem to be going well?" And while there are many possible answers to that, one of the most overlooked is that the emotional signals she's sending, without even knowing it, are creating a pattern of misalignment. The ones who feel emotionally safe enough to be vulnerable are put off by the wall, even if it's unspoken. And the ones who are used to playing games, avoiding depth, or seeking validation they're drawn to the challenge. They don't mind the closed door. In fact, they're excited by it. So the pattern continues. Breaking this cycle starts with awareness, not self-blame, not overthinking, not trying to overcorrect, just honest awareness, asking, what does my energy say about me? What do people feel when they're around me? Am I giving off the sense that I'm truly open to connection? Not just in theory, but right now, in real time. Sometimes the tiniest shift in energy, a genuine smile, a bit more softness in tone, leaning in instead of pulling back, can make a massive difference in how people respond. It's not about changing who you are. It's about aligning how you feel inside with what you show on the outside. Because when those two things match, when you're emotionally available and your energy reflects that, everything around you starts to change. You start attracting different kinds of people. People who aren't just interested in what you look like, but who are deeply drawn to the space you create. One that says, you're welcome here. You can relax here. We can be real here. That's the kind of energy that invites connection. And when you give that off, everything shifts. There's a powerful beauty in being independent. In today's world, many women have built lives that are full, successful, and self-sufficient. They have careers, passions, routines, and goals. They've fought hard to become who they are, to stand on their own 2 feet, to not rely on anyone else for their sense of identity, value, or stability. And that strength is magnetic. It shows resilience, confidence, and depth. But here's where it gets complicated. Sometimes, in the process of becoming independent, a woman unknowingly sends out the message that there's no space for anyone else. This message isn't intentional. It's not a declaration of, I don't want love. It's not a conscious decision to block people out. But it shows up in subtle ways, in body language, in tone, in the way she responds when someone tries to do something thoughtful or helpful. It's the casual rejection of assistance, the instinctive, I've got it, the subtle resistance to vulnerability. And while these actions are often rooted in strength, they can come across as a kind of emotional inaccessibility. The energy becomes, I don't need you. And that message, even if unspoken, has a deep impact on how potential partners feel. Many emotionally available men aren't intimidated by strength. They're drawn to it. But what turns them away is the feeling that they aren't needed, or worse, that their presence is irrelevant. When someone feels like they can't contribute, like there's no space to be helpful, to protect, to give, they eventually stop trying. Not because they want control, but because real connection requires emotional reciprocity. And when a woman is so committed to never depending on anyone, it can make the other person feel like there's no room for mutual growth, no place for shared support. There's a fine line between independence and emotional isolation. And sometimes in the pursuit of self-sufficiency, that line gets crossed without even realizing it. Because what starts as strength turns into armor. And armor doesn't just keep pain out, it keeps people out. The walls that were meant to protect begin to suffocate intimacy. And even when a woman is ready for a relationship, she might be holding the very energy that blocks it from entering her life. It's important to understand that needing someone doesn't mean losing power. Needing someone in a healthy, balanced way is part of human connection. It's about allowing someone to matter. It's about inviting someone into your life, not because you're incomplete, but because you're human. You can be whole and still want company. You can be capable and still want support. But if the energy says, I've got it all handled, then the other person might wonder where they fit. Sometimes this energy is born from fear, from the belief that if you let someone in, they might let you down. So it becomes safer to do everything alone. Relying on someone feels risky. Trusting someone feels like too big of a gamble. And so the emotional message becomes, I'm fine on my own. I don't need anyone. But here's the paradox. While that message might feel protective, it often attracts the kind of people who are either emotionally distant themselves or who aren't looking for a true partnership. The men who are ready for emotional intimacy are often looking for someone who isn't afraid to lean in. Not to lean too hard, not to depend for identity, but to say, I want to share this with you. They're looking for someone who knows her own strength, but isn't afraid to show her softness. And that's where true connection lives. In the space where strength and vulnerability coexist. Being open doesn't mean lowering your standards or becoming dependent. It means shifting the energy from, I've got this on my own, to, I'm open to doing this with someone. It's not about inviting just anyone in, it's about creating space for the right person to step in and contribute. And that requires a conscious softening of the protective instincts that once served you, but may now be standing in the way of what you truly want. That softening is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. It takes far more courage to be open to love than it does to stay closed off. And the moment a woman begins to trust that allowing someone in doesn't mean losing herself, everything begins to shift. Her energy changes, her presence becomes more inviting, and the people who were once repelled by their armor begin to see the person behind it. Someone strong, yes, but also open, real, and emotionally available. In the end, it's not about becoming someone different. It's about aligning with who you truly are beneath the survival mechanisms. You are still independent, you are still powerful, but now you're also willing to let someone in. And that willingness is the true signal that love is welcome. Attraction has never been just about how you look. It's not about the clothes you wear, the shape of your body, or the way you style your hair. While physical appearance might catch someone's attention for a moment, it's not what holds that attention. What truly draws people in and keeps them is energy. That invisible yet powerful force that surrounds you when you walk into a room, when you speak, when you make eye contact, when you're simply being yourself. People don't always remember what you said or what you looked like, but they remember how they felt around you. That's energy. And that's what creates real attraction. Some women spend hours trying to perfect the outer presentation, the right makeup, the perfect photo, the ideal first impression. But none of that can cover up the energy that's actually being transmitted beneath the surface. If your energy is anxious, closed off, guarded, or disconnected, that will come through no matter how stunning you look. Conversely, if your energy is warm, engaged, relaxed, and open, people will feel naturally pulled toward you, even if you don't say a single word. We often underestimate how deeply intuitive humans are. We can feel when someone is genuinely interested in us or when they're just going through the motion. We sense when someone is judging us versus when someone is open and curious. And it doesn't take long for the energy someone is putting out to either invite us closer or push us away. That's why two people can say the exact same thing and one feels magnetic while the other feels awkward. It's not about the words, it's about the feeling behind the words. Energy doesn't lie. You can say, I'm ready for a relationship, we would, but if your energy says, I'm not really open, the people you meet will feel that contradiction. You might say, I want something real, but if your vibe says I'm skeptical, guarded, or uninterested, then you end up sending mixed messages. And emotionally available people, the ones you actually want to attract, pick up on that very quickly. They're sensitive to the energy you're carrying, even if they don't know how to explain it. The irony is, many women who give off closed or distant energy are doing it without even realizing it. Sometimes it comes from past pain. Sometimes it comes from trying to protect their hearts. Sometimes it comes from trying to appear cool or in control because they've been told that showing too much interest makes them look needy. But in trying to protect themselves, they end up hiding the very qualities that make them lovable. Their warmth, their playfulness, their openness, their curiosity. Real attraction lives in authenticity. It's in those moments when you let your guard down, when you laugh from your gut, when you show genuine interest in someone without playing games. It's when you're not trying to be impressive. You're just being present. Because when you're fully present, your energy shifts. You're no longer performing, you're no longer analyzing, you're just there, engaged, grounded, available. And that kind of energy is incredibly rare and deeply attractive. Think about the people you've been most drawn to in your life. Odds are, it wasn't just about how they looked, it was about how they made you feel. It was the spark of connection, the feeling that you could be yourself around them. The sense that they were genuinely interested in knowing you. That's the kind of energy that sticks. And that's the kind of energy you can cultivate, not by changing who you are, but by learning to drop the layers that aren't really you. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room or the most extroverted to be magnetic. Quiet confidence is just as powerful as bold charisma. What matters is the congruence between who you are and the energy you express. When your inner world matches your outer expression, people trust you, they feel safe around you. And in dating, safety is the foundation of attraction. When someone feels emotionally safe around you, like they can be themselves, like they're being seen and not judged, that's when real chemistry can start to build. So if you've been wondering why dating feels stagnant or why connections keep falling flat, it might not be about your looks or your efforts. It might be the energy you're unknowingly bringing into those moments. And the good news? Energy is something you can become aware of and shift. It starts by checking in with yourself. Are you open right now? Are you genuinely interested in connecting? Or are you guarded? Are you relaxed? Or are you trying to control the outcome? The energy you bring into any interaction sets the tone for everything that follows. And when that energy is aligned with love, authenticity, and openness, it becomes impossible to ignore. One of the most misunderstood aspects of dating is the role that emotional availability plays in attraction and connection. Many women believe they're emotionally available simply because they want a relationship. They feel ready. They're tired of casual flings, tired of the wrong people, and deeply crave something real. But wanting a relationship isn't the same as being ready for one. And emotional readiness isn't about desire, it's about capacity. It's about whether you have the internal space, the willingness, and the vulnerability to actually connect with another human being in a deep, honest way. Emotional availability is about more than being open to the idea of love. It's about being open to the experience of it. The unpredictable, messy, revealing parts means allowing yourself to be seen, to be affected, to be changed by another person's presence in your life. And for many women who have had to be strong, self-reliant, or guarded for a long time, this doesn't come naturally. They may believe they're open, but their energy still carries a quiet resistance, a reluctance to trust, a need to stay in control. And this subtle resistance is often what prevents true intimacy from forming. You can't receive love if you're holding your breath. You can't create connection if you're emotionally bracing for impact. And you can't build something meaningful if your heart is still trying to protect itself from what happened in the past. That protection is understandable, even necessary in certain seasons of life. But if it stays on too long, it becomes a wall. Not just a wall that keeps pain out, but one that keeps love out too. What makes emotional availability so attractive is that it allows people to feel you. Not just hear your words or see your beauty, but sense your truth. When someone is emotionally available, they're present. They're responsive. They're not guarded or performative. They're engaged, curious, willing to show up in the moment without trying to control or predict the outcome. That level of openness creates a safe space, and safety is what allows attraction to deepen into intimacy. The emotionally unavailable woman may not recognize this in herself because she's still doing all the right things on the surface. She goes on dates, she keeps the conversation flowing, she asks questions, but her energy might still say, I don't trust this, or I'm not gonna let you in until you prove you're safe. And that creates a dynamic where the other person feels like they have to work overtime just to be allowed into her world. That's exhausting. And for people who are emotionally healthy, it's a sign to walk away. Not because they don't care, but because they sense the barrier and know that real connection can't grow there. This is where the inner work becomes essential. Being emotionally available starts with getting radically honest about where you're still closed, about the fears you haven't yet addressed, the lingering hurt you haven't fully released, the beliefs you still carry that say love is dangerous, or people can't be trusted, or vulnerability equals weakness. These aren't flaws, they're wounds. But wounds that go unexamined begin to shape your energy, your presence, and ultimately your relationships. Healing doesn't mean becoming perfect, it means becoming present. It means being aware of your fears without letting them control you. It means noticing when you want to pull away emotionally and gently choosing to stay. It means allowing someone to see your softer sides, even when you're afraid they might not know how to hold them. Emotional availability is a practice, not something you achieve overnight, but something you cultivate step by step through awareness and courage. The beautiful part is that the more emotionally available you become, the more emotionally available people you begin to attract. Your energy shifts. You no longer draw in people who are emotionally shut down because there's nothing in you that's aligned with that anymore. You're no longer playing games, pretending not to care or holding back your truth. You show up fully, and that energy naturally repels the ones who aren't ready while magnetizing those who are. Ultimately, being emotionally available is about letting go of the illusion of safety through control. It's realizing that true love requires risk. Not reckless risk, but the risk of being seen, the risk of giving, not knowing what you'll receive in return. And that risk is worth it because it's the only way to create the kind of connection that's real, rich, and lasting. It's not about being perfect, it's about being here, open, grounded, willing. That's what changes everything. That's when love can finally land.